welcome to Tinderbox. I am Tinder and this is where I speak my truth, my whole truth, and nothing but my truth. So guys, as usual, first things first, I hope you and yours are keeping well and safe and sound and sane given what is going on around. I mean, I've been dreading this week's vlog. It's one of those things that I didn't want to do it. I honestly did not want to do it. I've been really stressed the whole of this week, and as you can see, I don't know whether you can see the cold sores on my lips. That is my body's way of defending itself whenever I'm really stressed. It just pops up and it's crazy. Don't you guys agree? It's absolutely mental. I have had a very tense week. And it's one of those weeks that when it started out, when this whole mess started out, I was really going all out, and then I decided to fall back a little bit and just hold myself back. And then we had that Blackout Tuesday, and I spent the whole day thinking about what I really want to compromise. Am I willing to mute myself? Am I willing to alter my own self for the sake of not hurting other people? And I decided, no way, no way. True belonging is about calling out bullshit, and it's about standing for what you feel is right, even when everybody is against you. And it was such a conflict, but then I decided, you know what? I'm not going to hold myself back. It's not the time to be politically correct. It's not the time to tell people what they want to hear. So it's just been so intense, and I've been at war with so many people, I have to say, and it's just horrible. It's absolutely horrible, but I wouldn't be doing myself any justice if I decided to just shut up and stand at the corner and not say anything. So yes, it's Friday. It's that time of the day when I've just decided, you know what, it's time to stop working and get this vlog done and get whatever I feel out. So here we are. A massive thank you again to everybody that has been sharing my vlogs and to everybody that has been giving me so much love on social media. I really appreciate it. I mean, jeez guys, you just keep on giving me that fuel I need to keep burning. So I really appreciate it, and I know that we're going to have a really good ride. I'm very positive about the experiences we're having, the interactions we're having, and I'm looking forward to future amazing vlogs. If you have any ideas that you feel that you want me to address, please let me know. As you know, I have an opinion on everything. So let me know what you want me to touch on, and I'll definitely be able to do that. So today is a very somber one, and it goes to what I just mentioned before. It's about time we started having this conversation. We have to acknowledge that we're currently experiencing a very bad social and political shitstorm. And it's such a bad time to be an earthling. And I actually wish that I could just move to another planet and live there until the fire burns out, because I just don't want to be part of this crazy mess that we're all responsible for. We can't say that we're not responsible for it, because we played a part in creating this mess, in creating the hatred, in creating the anger, in creating this unfair society that we're currently living in. And it started with Amy Cooper, and I was like, oof, that's something. And then it went on to George Floyd's death, and I remember watching that video. I mean, I shared it on my Facebook, and I was so heartbroken because I watched it from the beginning to the end. And I was so shattered. I mean, injustices are happening all over the world, but it's when it's captured like that, it's when it's that raw, that it actually touches us. And that's when it really brings out all these emotions that actually this happened to someone in plain view. and people were saying stop, and people were trying to tell these cops, and these guys were so blasé about it, and it was so annoying. And then while I was doing all this blacking out and muting, a post comes up on my social media about a woman in Kenya that was almost lynched. Like this guy's had a tire around her and dry grass was surrounding her, and they wanted to burn her for milking a neighbor's goat. Like, this is the kind of shit I'm talking about. And these are the kind of injustices we need to address, because we need to start with ourselves. Yeah, we can definitely shout about how there are injustices happening in America, in Europe, in different parts of the world, but we need to start from home. It's absolutely frustrating, and I can't express how disappointed I am to be a human being right now. I wish I was a massive tree in the middle of the Amazon just growing. Actually, they would still get to me in the Amazon and cut me down. That is how mean human beings are. I'm starting to question what humanity is about. And then watching all these riots and seeing all these white people coming out and being shot with rubber bullets and just going all out with black people, that was quite touching. And this is exactly why I was having the arguments the whole of this week with friends on social media who were like generalizing and this blanket stereotype that all white people are racist. And I'm like, seriously? Am I the only one who is watching telly? Am I the only one who is seeing all these white people chanting and choking on tear gas, being beaten, being shoved, being dehumanized by policemen because they are part of this movement? I can't be the only one, and we have a problem. Unless we appreciate the fact that we actually need these allies, we can't get rid of this problem. We can't be hateful to a point that if a white person is standing next to us and telling us, no, we definitely agree with you and we want to make a difference with you, we can't keep on turning our backs and saying, no, you're just a white savior. It's absolutely annoying when you see this on social media. And then people turn around and say, are you caring more about the white people's feelings? I mean, seriously, are these the conversations we want to bring to the table? Is this how we want to treat each other? Yeah, we can definitely have a black versus white war for the rest of our lives, but that will never sort anything. It will never get rid of the problem. The problem is the injustices. The problem is the police brutality. Of course, it goes far back, but it's a human being problem. It's everybody's problem. And this is what I want us to accept and appreciate and deal with. Before this whole Amy Cooper and George Floyd scenario, I was watching Chelsea Handler's documentary, and it's I think it's Hello Privilege, It's Me Chelsea. And Chelsea was going out just to understand how white privilege works, because she understands that she's a Jew and she is white and she's a woman, so she has all these privileges. And she was describing dating an African American guy who ended up in prison, and so many times they were stopped by police where they had drugs, and it's only the African American guy that got into trouble. And Chelsea went on to speak to black people, and she went on to speak with white people. Now the black people were like, listen, Chelsea, white privilege is a white person's problem. It's not a black person's problem. And then the white people were saying, oh, we don't see white privilege. We think everybody is fairly treated. They don't seem to acknowledge that actually being white in itself puts you ahead of everybody else when it comes to how you will be treated, the kind of privileges you will be given, and the relationship you will have with police. So law enforcement will be kinder and more lenient with you just based on your skin color. And it got me thinking about privilege. So before we trickle down to white privilege, let's start with privilege in itself. So what is social privilege? So social privilege is the entitlement and the privilege that puts you ahead of everybody else. And these advantages can be based on so many different factors. So it can be racial, it can be ethnicity, it can be your social standing, it can be your sexual orientation, it can be disability. There are so many different ways that other people can get a head start. But it is when it is at the detriment of other people that it becomes a problem. But the problem is that a lot of people that are privileged don't want to accept the fact that they are privileged or even acknowledge it, because acknowledging it makes them address the problem. So it puts them in a position where they have to admit that, yes, I got to where I am because of that privilege. So they don't want to see themselves as oppressive, unfair individuals who are participants in a broken culture. So they're not willing to step forward and say something and then end up losing the privileges or putting those privileges at risk. And this reminds me of the book The Souls of Black Folk, which was written in 1903 by William Du Bois. Now, what William said is that although Black people are willing to acknowledge that white people have privilege, and they can see that because they're suffering the injustices, they're the ones who are washing their hands in a tiny sink, while the white people are using a bigger sink, or they're the ones who are sitting at the back of the bus while the white people are sitting at the front of the bus. So it was so obvious to them, but these white people were not seeing it. They were not agreeing to it. They were like, no, I don't see it. I don't see color. But then you're more than willing to participate in this colored and non-colored kind of culture. And he went on to describe the wages of whiteness, which were actually being enjoyed by the white Americans, where they could hold any public position, they could go to any school, they could basically go anywhere and take part in anything without being asked by anyone. So those wages were being enjoyed by white people and they didn't want to give them up. And this brings me down to white privilege. So it starts with social privilege, and then it comes down to white privilege, because people are more than happy to settle in whatever social privilege they have, and then it becomes very obvious. And Peggy McIntosh, who's the founder of the Seed Project, wrote a very extensive piece on white privilege, and that was in the 1980s, and she titled it White Privilege: Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack. And she compared white privilege to an invisible package that she can cash in whenever she wants to do that. So it's basically this little bag that you carry around that is meant to make your life very easy. And this is how she described it. She basically said that white privilege is like an invisible, weightless knapsack of special provisions, maps, passports, code books, visas, clothes, tools, and blank checks. Now, that is quite interesting, because white people get that. They get that little push, but then the black people don't have that little knapsack. So we're at a disadvantage. And Peggy went on to say that white people are carefully taught not to acknowledge white privilege, just like men are taught not to acknowledge male privilege. So the same way a lot of men will not say, listen, yes, I got to where I am because I'm a man, and I get this and that because I'm a man, is the same way a lot of white people are not willing to say, listen, I got to where I got to because I'm white, and I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm white. And Peggy went to describe a lot of things that she can do with ease that her fellow black friends and black colleagues could not do. Things like being able to leave where she wants to leave, moving around and shopping around without any suspicion, being able to get a haircut in whichever barbershop she walked into, being able to consume media that represents her race, being able to take kids to any school that they wanted to go to, and being able to wear secondhand clothes or blatantly refuse to reply to emails without people attributing her choices to poverty or bad morals or her racial background. So she can get away with so many things that a lot of Black people honestly can't get away with or can't do so freely as they would like to do. And this also reminds me of Michael Kimmel, who uses a wind as a metaphor to describe social privilege. And what Michael describes is when you walk with the wind, it pushes you forward. So you can go wherever you want to go as long as you're walking with the wind. But then if you're walking against the wind, it pushes you back and you're struggling to hold yourself together as you walk. And the white people are basically walking with the wind because it's such a breeze, and then the Black people have all the odds stacked against them, so they're walking against the wind. So the wind is seen as social privilege, which means that as long as it is flowing with you, it will be able to propel you to wherever you're going with very little effort from yourself. So understanding privilege is really important because it makes people accountable, and it also means that they are more likely to address the elephant in the room and get rid of it. So eliminate it, eradicate it, just make it so uncomfortable for it to happen because they're constantly calling it out. So that could be sexual discrimination, that could be racial discrimination, that could be social discrimination, that could be gender discrimination. So the moment you actually say, you know what, I'm going to stand for what is right and I'm going to call you out for it, then it makes people more uncomfortable to participate in that. And that is very important for us to do. But what I'm coming to realize is that the people that are actually affected are not responsible for having these conversations. These conversations are meant to be pushed forward, to be propelled forward by the people that are actually enjoying the privileges. The tables are meant to be set by those people, and the spaces are meant to be set for those people. And those need to be very safe spaces so that we can go out there and have these conversations. The thing is, people are more likely to listen to someone that they relate with. So when it comes to racial discrimination, when we see white people actually coming out and speaking with us, that is very important. And a friend of mine actually made a very interesting comment on one of my posts. I was ranting, I was angry. And she actually came and said, you know what, Hinda, you're right. We can't win this war without allies. No war has ever been won without the support of allies. So if you're seeing white people going out there and fighting with you and shedding the tears, blood and sweat with you, appreciate it, because they are pushing this movement. And it is only when a white person points out the injustices to another white person that these people can start understanding the kind of conversations we want to have. So let us let them help us, because we definitely need their help. We can't do it without them. If all black people were standing to one side and all white people were standing to one side, then it would be a black versus white problem. But then we're seeing white people standing with us. We're seeing Asians. We're seeing everybody standing with us. Then that makes the movement even stronger. It is a different world. We're definitely living in a very different world. And we need to embrace that change. We need to embrace the fact that people can change. We need to embrace that people can have open minds. We need to embrace the fact that the world is so different right now. We're enjoying things that we couldn't enjoy ages ago. So change is happening and we need to acknowledge that. I know it's very embarrassing for people to have these kind of conversations because they're currently participating in cultures where they're enjoying the fruits of the privilege. But it's good to see people stand out and say, you know what, if I'm going to enjoy this, I want someone else to enjoy it as well. And it shouldn't be on the basis of color. It shouldn't be on the basis of gender. It shouldn't be on the basis of sexual orientation. It is a human right. So I want someone else to have the same rights as I do. And I know that we are angry. I know that we are frustrated. I know that we're tired of being tired, but we need to let people help us have these conversations, because I can see that they're angry too. I can see that they're tired too. I can see that they're embarrassed that they actually have enjoyed this privilege for so long, and it's time for them to use it for something positive. So let us let them help us, okay? Oof. I'm even sweating. This whole thing has weighed on me all week, and oof, I've been dreading this vlog. Today's vlog is one of those that I have to do because this conversation needs to be had, and I just couldn't step aside and assume that things are going to sort themselves out. No. So when you see me standing on social media and calling you out all day, every day, it's because of what I've just spoken about. So let us not push back this wind that is trying to propel us forward, because it's time for all of us to enjoy it. It's time for all of us to enjoy that breeze and just relax and let it push us forward. So guys, let us embrace our allies. I believe that we're fighting for something that is worth fighting for, and we need help. We definitely need help, okay? So that's it for this week. I know it's been a crazy one. This is a conversation I was dreading having, but it definitely has to happen. It has to happen. Now, if you like what you've seen and heard, leave your like below and don't forget to subscribe, okay? All right, guys, bye. Have a good one. Cheers.